Welcome back. I'm your host, DJ B, and today we are talking about why DJ Screw, the Screwed Up Clique, and the Chopped and Screwed movement deserve to be preserved as part of Texas history, and why a historical marker could be one of the most important ways to make that legacy permanent. Today, we are talking about something bigger than music. We are talking about history, legacy, culture, and preservation. We are talking about why DJ Screw, the Screwed Up Clique, and the rise of chopped and screwed music in Houston should be recognized as part of Texas history with an official historical marker. This is not just about honoring an artist. This is not just about showing love to a movement. This is about recognizing a cultural force that changed Houston, influenced Texas, and reached far beyond the state of Texas and Houston where it was born. When people talk about history, they often think about politicians, wars, old buildings, and major events. But history is also made through culture. It is made through music. It is made through movements that shape the identity of a city and leave a lasting mark on generations of people. And that is exactly what happened with DJ Screw and the Screwed Up Clique. DJ Screw helped create a sound that became one of the most original contributions to Texas music history and arguably hip-hop music, period. Chopped and Screwed music was more than a style. It was more than slowed-down records. It became a language, a feeling, and a reflection of Houston and Texas itself. The sound carried the city's pace, mood, creativity, and identity in a way that people could hear immediately. What began in Houston became a cultural wave. The influence of that sound spread through neighborhoods, cars, tapes, artists, DJs, and fans. It helped define a regional identity and built a legacy that people still study, celebrate, and imitate today. The music became tied to everyday culture, local pride, and a style that represented something real to the city of Houston. Not only Houston, it represented Texas around the world. I remember the first time I heard of and saw a gray Screwed Up tape was in early 1990s at Gary Job Corps in San Marcos. I heard Shed So Many Tears from Tupac, from my homies from Houston, Black and Snake. They was cousins. I can't explain the emotional feeling that took over Lil San Antone, but it was powerful, and I had to hear it again. The very next time I heard Screw's music playing outside of Texas, I was a 13 Bravo field artillery man stationed in Fairbanks, Alaska. A soldier from named Specialist Ray from Atlanta, Georgia was listening to it and talking with our Texas lingo like, "Man, hold up." Therefore, I can give you first-hand experience on how Screw's music not only changed culture in Texas, but around the world. But this story is bigger than one person alone. The Screwed Up Clique was more than a rap group or a music crew. It was a movement. It was a network of artists, collaborators, neighborhoods, and supporters who helped build something that the city could call its own. The Screwed Up Clique helped shape Houston culture not just through songs, but through presence, community, and a style of expression that became part of the city's identity. That is why this conversation matters. If something helped shape a city, influenced a state, and left a lasting mark on music and culture, then it deserves to be treated as part of public history. And that is why the idea of a Texas historical marker for DJ Screw, the Screwed Up Clique, and the rise of chopped and screwed music in Houston is so important. The strongest way to approach this is not just as a marker for one person by himself, and not just as a generic tribute to a music scene. The strongest case is to frame it as a marker for the movement itself, tied to a real Houston site that played a meaningful role in that history. That matters because history lives in places as much as it lives in people. A historical marker is strongest when it connects the story to real ground, real neighborhoods, real buildings, and real moments. It gives future generations something permanent. It says, this happened here, this mattered here, this changed here. So if this effort moves forward, the best path would be to build the case around the movement, the sound, the culture, and the site that best represents where that history took shape. That means this work has to be serious. This is not just about saying somebody was important. This is about building a real historical case. That includes identifying the strongest site, collecting photos, flyers, interviews, articles, oral histories, and testimony from people who were there. It means documenting the timeline, the places, the names, and the cultural impact in a way that stands up as history. That is why interviews are so important. Talking to people like DJ Gold and others connected to that era is not just good content, it is historical preservation. These interviews help put details on the record. They help identify places, dates, key moments, and the role that different people played in building the culture. They help preserve truth before details are lost. And that is what makes this work bigger than a documentary. This becomes a preservation campaign. The goal is not just to tell the story. The goal is to protect it, organize it, and build the strongest public case possible so that the legacy of DJ Screw, the Screwed Up Clique, and Houston's Chopped and Screwed movement can be recognized the way it deserves. The kind of content we create here helps do several things at once. It builds public awareness. It gives supporters something to point to. It creates a place for people to submit stories, memories, flyers, and historical materials, and it starts shaping the case in a way that can support deeper research and formal application work later. Just before we get too deep, let's pay some bills. I actually forgot to tell you that this episode is brought to you by They Source. If you're looking for natural products, herbs, spices, sea moss, and wellness-based solutions, They Source provides high-quality products designed to support your lifestyle. Whether you're focused on health, energy, or natural living, They Source has what you need. To learn more or place an order, visit TheYourCesales.com and use discount code DJB10 to take 10% off your order. That tells them DJB sent you. Now let's get back to Texas business. Now the campaign to get historical marker itself would have to move in phases. First, the foundation has to be locked in. That means finalizing the marker angle, finalizing the working title, and building a short list of the top sites tied to the history. Second, the evidence has to be collected. That includes published articles, interviews, photos, flyers, tape history, site information, and oral testimony from people who were directly connected to the movement. Then, the public case has to be built. And fourth, the formal application work begins. That means drafting the narrative history, gathering support letters, locking down site proof, identifying the owner, getting permission if needed, and preparing for contact with the County Historical Commission. And that part matters too, because this is not a quick process. A real Texas historical marker campaign takes time. It takes proof. It takes site history. It takes documentation. It means a serious narrative that explains why the movement matters not only to music fans, but to Houston, Texas, and public history itself. That is why the framing is so important. DJ Screw, the Screwed Up Clique, and the rise of chopped and screwed music in Houston represent more than a music story. They represent a major cultural contribution that helped shape Houston identity, influence Texas music history, and leave a lasting legacy that still matters across the world today. That is the historical argument, and if that argument is built the right way, it becomes much harder to ignore. So where does this go from here? From here, the next steps are clear. The movement has to be documented, the strongest site has to be identified, the voices of the people who lived it have to be recorded, the historical record has to be organized, and the public has to understand why this is not just nostalgia, this is preservation. Because when a city's culture changes the world, that deserves to be remembered. When a movement helps define not just Houston, but Texas, that deserves to be documented. When a sound born in Texas becomes part of music history, and the music majors have to accept that their sales were dropping if DJ Screw was not spinning and chopping and screwing their releases. Therefore, DJ Screw and the SUC carved out a market to themselves that deserves recognition from the state of Texas. DJ Screw and the SUC didn't just make music, they made history. And the work now is making sure that history is preserved, respected, and one day recognized in a respected permanent public way. If you believe in preserving the legacy of DJ Screw, the SUC, and Houston's chopped and screwed history, support the project, share the story, and help keep the culture alive. History stays alive when the people protect it. Thank you for listening. Stay alert, stay alive, stay second to none.